Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the December 1st, 2025 District of Metchosin Council meeting. Before we begin, I just want to acknowledge that the District of Metchosin conducts its business on the Coast Salish territory and the traditional territory of the Shano First Nation. With that, Council, we have an agenda before you. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda? Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Comments? All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. We don't have any presentation, but we do have some time for public participation. Should you wish to speak at the meeting, you're most welcome. You have 4 minutes. There are lights there where they'll indicate at a yellow light when you have 30 seconds left in your 4-minute allotment. Everybody's welcome to speak at the microphone.
Good evening, Deirdre Chattleborough, William Head Road, Metchosin. I'm here on behalf of the Metchosin Seniors Association. Thank you for the opportunity to acknowledge our submission of our business plan and budget for 2026. The business plan is divided into 5 program areas: governance, core services, education, networking, communication, marketing, and fundraising. In governance, our objectives are to ensure that the Metchosin Seniors Association is a well-running organization. Key activities include developing an annual business plan from which we make the budget, reporting on the plan, and having processes in place so that expectations and responsibilities of the board and the manager of the center are clear. Service agreements, contracts, and grants are implemented, measured, and reported upon. Under the core services area, our objectives are that seniors benefit from the collaboration between the Seniors Resource Center, the fire chief, and the emergency services, that the center is open 16 hours a week, and that seniors are provided with information regarding services and support in a timely manner. Programs are offered in our education area, addressing needs that have been identified by seniors in the community. There's networking, working with other agencies and organizations to build and sustain relationships and initiatives and activities in the community to model best practices for an age-friendly community. In communication, marketing, and fundraising, the objectives are to make sure that the communication is aligned with our plan, is timely and consistent, and that the community is aware of the resource center and its services. So that is an overview of the business plan. We've prepared a balanced budget, and I just wanted to say that if you have any questions, there are a few of us here and we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Patty Whitehouse, Rocky Point Road. Just want to express my appreciation for the Senior Center and in particular the very interesting and varied programs that they put on during their educational portion.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak tonight? Council, does anybody have any specific questions for Ms. Chattleborough while she's here about the business plan? No. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Shukin.
Through you, Mayor Little, and I apologize if this is documented somewhere, but I'm just curious about when you did your business plan when Ms. Chettelberg and her team did the business plan and what the process was generally. So.
Good question. We meet in the fall of every year where we work together with the manager and our council liaison to identify strengths, weaknesses, what we've accomplished in the past year that's worked, what we still need to work on, opportunities for the future. So that's usually in October that we do that. Okay, and yeah.
Councillor Gray?
Thank you. Through the chair, just an appreciation for what the Senior Center does in the community. And I wondered, I had two questions. One was related to rides. People can get, I see there's a bus that takes people to different locations, but also through the Senior Center, I think you can arrange a ride to get to a special meeting or a doctor's office, for example.
Oh, absolutely. And that's volunteers. We have volunteer drivers who go through an intake process, and we confirm they have the insurance they need on their vehicle. We've worked with the fire department to equip their cars with safety equipment in the event of an emergency. And so that's been a successful and certainly one of our program where there is a great need.
Yeah, I can imagine. It would really fill a need for a lot of people. And does it cost anything to do that for the person who's getting the ride?
No, we do have a recommended donation because our volunteer drivers are able to submit expenses, so many cents per kilometer for their car. Many choose not to submit an expense, but we like to reimburse people for their expenses, and that's covered by the donations that the people who are getting a ride make. But if we recognize that for some people that may not be possible, and we have funds through the Better at Home program from the Pacific Center that help us to defray then if there's a gap. Yeah.
Super. And then the second question I had was, I see that the service agreement with the district is going to expire on December 31st. Would we normally be setting that up now or in the fall, or when does that discussion usually occur?
Yes, thank you. And that's in the process now because it expires at the end of December. We've been reviewing the current agreement and are in the process of signing off. We've reviewed it, and I returned it to the district office this morning. So.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at public participation this evening? If not, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda. Thank you for speaking at the microphone. So council, if you can turn to page 5 of your agenda package, we have the adoption of the minutes from November 3rd, 2025. Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Gray. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And then we have the November 5th, 2025 special council meeting minutes.
Move adoption.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Shukin. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And then we have the Monday, November 24th, 2025 special council meeting minutes for adoption. Moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving along to minutes to receive. First off, on page 19, we have the Capital West Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting agenda. Could I get a motion to receive?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And then With that, I'll move on to the mayor's report. So we have a rising report um, for the public at the December 1st, 2025 in-camera meeting. We have some appointments. The annual citizen appointments to advisory select committees were discussed. Council has made the following appointments to the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee: Alex Fletcher, Bernard Donaldson, Robin Tunnicliffe, Matt Ashton, and Sasha Kubicek. And for the Healthy Community Advisory Select Committee, Shannon Carmen has been reappointed. For the Parks and Trails Advisory Select Committee, Kathy Atherton and David Shanks have been reappointed. And the following members have been appointed to the Peninsula and Area Agricultural Commission, PAC. They are Diane Williamson, Emily Harris, Jenny Mitchell, Katie Underwood, Larry Sluggett, Michael Dohill, and Paul Baines. And just to note, on the other committees, the advisory committees at the District of Metchosin, there were some other members that did not have their term to be renewed. These were only the members that had their terms renewed. Okay, great. Moving on to my mayor's update. I'm just going to be very brief tonight because we have a heavy agenda. Just to note that the Capital Regional District has introduced their 2026 provincial financial plan. The consolidated budget is $907 million. That's $678 million for the CRD, $67 million for the Capital Region Housing District, and $161 million for the CHRC. That's the Regional Housing Corporation. The other one was the Regional Hospital District. So the total amount was $907 million for that proposed consolidated budget. The CRD, this has been endorsed by the board, and this will all the discussions will be incorporated into the final budget. They're asking for the public, should they wish to review it and comment. There is a link right in my mayor's update. You can also locate that at the CRD website. Continuing on with the CRD, we continue to have government discussions with the First Nations. After the latest CRD board elections, I continue to serve as the vice chair for the CRD, and I continue to be involved in the discussion and protocol agreements with the South Island First Nations. Just recently, CRD board chair Cliff McNeil-Smith and I and senior executive staff met with the Pachidat First Nation to discuss their memorandum of understanding and hear about their priorities of the nation. It was really interesting. We've gone to many of the First Nations and none of them are identical in terms of their priorities and the discussions. And it really was a day of listening to what their concerns are and figuring out ways that we can support them through staff. Towards a shared collaboration and shared prosperity in our region. There has been much talk about the West Shore RCMP detachment expansion, service establishment, and a loan authorization bylaw was done at the CRD. So as has been discussed over the last 3 years, the 3 municipalities, Langford, Colwood, and View Royal, have supported the establishment of a service that will enable the construction of the expanded West Shore RCMP detachment building in Langford that will service all of the West Shore and including 2 nations, the Songhees and the Cosapsan nations. The CRD approved the memorandum of understanding outlining the cost sharing agreement with the West Shore RCMP communities regarding this RCMP building. 2 new bylaws are required to establish the sub-regional service. The CRD board introduced the 2 bylaws and read them first, second, and third time. The participating area approval for Colwood, View Royal, and Langford will be obtained by municipal council consent on behalf. And if successful, the bylaws will be submitted to the inspector of the municipalities. Metchosin's not part of that agreement because we're not owners of the RCMP building. We are renters, so we rent as a part of our accommodation of our RCMP costs. We rent a part of the building, so we're not part of the of this service. And then finally, we have been meeting with the not-for-profit groups and the volunteer groups that were affected by changes in the district's permissive tax exemption policy. Today, we've met with 5 of the 7 organizations. We will be meeting with at least one in the next little while. And we've been discussing, very frankly, the timeline, the decision-making process, and the reasoning, and the financial implications and potential remedies. So that ends my mayor's report. And on page 25, we'll move on to business arising from the minutes. These are to be considered at this meeting. The first is the Capital West Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting of September 24th. The Capital West Accessory Advisory Committee terms of reference, and they request that the Capital West Advisory Committee terms of reference be amended by adding a roundtable discussion to section 5.4 and renumbering the subsequent order of business. Council. Councillor Shukin.
I have no concerns with this at all, and sounds reasonable, and I'm prepared to make the motion unless there's further discussion.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'd move that the Capital West Accessibility Advisory Committee terms of reference be amended by adding number 7, roundtable discussion to section 5.4 and renumbering the subsequent order of business. So moved.
This is moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Any discussion? No? Okay, pretty straightforward. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's unanimous. Moving right along to reports for action on page 31. We have the renewal of the temporary use permit, TUP 20-01 4495 Happy Valley Road. And we'll start with staff presentation. CAO Payat, will you walk us through this, please?
Sure. Thanks, through the chair. So the temporary use permit is an extension to the current temporary use permit of 3 years. So this would be an additional 3 years. The terms and conditions of the temporary use are established in the permit, in the actual permit. It's available for you to read there in your information. The legal implications, I guess I could read that out a little bit so we're all aware. The temporary use permit renewal was published in the November 19th and 26th editions of the Coldstream News Gazette, and notices to neighbors were mailed. November 20th, the notices referenced December 1st date that council would consider the permit renewal. A draft renewal permit is provided, as I discussed, in the attachments for the uses and the conditions of the permit. It's recommended that council approve the extension for 3 years.
Okay, thank you. So council, you have any questions? Who would like to start the
Mayor
discussion?
Mayor,
Councillor Shukin. Oh, sorry.
there is a public input component to the temporary use permit separately. So,
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry. Thank you for that. So before we discuss, there is an opportunity for the public, should they wish to comment. Anybody is welcome. Does anybody wish to comment? Just calling a second time if anybody wishes to comment at public input. Okay. Hearing none, let's move on to council again. Let's go back to Councillor Shukin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I would have to have some startling and compelling reasons set my way to not renew the TUP. Mile Zero is incredibly popular. They've been a tremendous neighbor in the community but also in the facility itself. The place is full and thriving. There's a great energy there. Contrary to some of the misgivings that were expressed at the beginning of the TUP process, I have not heard of any complaints. I asked Mr. Munro a few years ago how many complaints, how many times the police had visited, and I don't think there was one that has come up. And and they also, in terms of being a tenant, they pay market rates. So they've been a tremendous asset to that facility and the community as well. So.
Thank you. Councillor Gray.
I'm prepared to make the motion. The council approves the renewal of the temporary use permit TUP 20-01 with respect to the property located at 4495 Happy Valley Road for an additional 3 years.
Thank you. This is moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Do you wish to comment?
Yeah, as Councillor Shukins just expressed, we've had a very successful business operating at the old school property, and I think it'd be great if it continues.
Thank you. Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I agree. I think the other thing that's quite heartwarming is how inclusive the business is. On any given day, there are families in there playing games, having beverage and food, and everybody is amiable. There's music nights, there's open mic. So definitely a very positive entity to have in our village.
Okay. For a second time, just Councillor Shukin, would you like to comment? No? Okay,
Yeah, the TUP will also support the other businesses that are planned in the school, so I think that's a perfect situation.
Do you want to expand on that?
Yes, this is the TUP for the entire address of 4495 Happy Valley Road, and one of the kind of thing that will be possible there with this temporary use permit is a personal service establishment, and I think we've got eyes on a wellness clinic that would be set up in the school.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, I agree. I've heard no complaints, and it certainly is an asset to the community, and it's clean and welcoming, and I have no problems with it. If council's ready, I'll call the question. Yeah, all in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Thanks very much. Okay, moving along to requests for release of covenants. This is on page 41 of your council agenda. This is a request to release covenants EX 2189 and EG 44432 Center Mountain Development, Lot D, Section 93 and 94, Metchosin District Plan EPP 690605, PID 030095905. Okay, so CAO Payette, were you going to walk us through this?
I can talk about, yes, through the chair, I can talk about the report to council and the discussion. The property owner, Summit Development, are in the final stages of preparing for registration of the first phase to create 34 lots. Subdivision, so a small part of the property. The property owners are requesting that the district consider releasing the covenants from the title, as the terms of the covenants will no longer apply to the new lots. The covenants, they're legal in nature, and I can summarize them by explaining that they involve, they were involving the development of a golf course and the associated property buildings of a golf course, so they no longer pertain. And we had previously removed this covenant off of the servient land, I believe. And so this is a request to be removed from the dominant land. And if there's any subsequent comments, Deputy Corporate Officer can discuss. Thanks.
Okay, so council, the request is to remove the covenants from 1993 pertaining to the resort units and the Class A golf course. What are your wishes? Who wants, Councillor Shukin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I don't see any reason to not release these covenants. They're dated. They pertain to a use that is no longer being contemplated, with subsequent actions flowing from that are not relevant anymore. And I just think that, not doing this is, there's no point in not doing it really, and it would just engender bad will. And I think we're going to find that we need goodwill in terms of working with the folks who are on that side of the property. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to speak? Would you like to move the motion?
Sure. I would move that council authorize the mayor and CAO to execute the Form C release for the covenants EX2189 and EG 44432 from Lot D, Section 93 and 94, Metchosin Plan EPP 6960, PID 030095905.
Okay. This is moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Gray. Anybody else wish to speak? No? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, moving along to the Public Works Policy on page 69 of the council agenda. This is the Public Works Policy W100.65, snow removal and ice control. The recommendation is that council approve this Public Work Policy, snow removal and ice control, and you have a copy of the draft policy in your package. CAO Payette, did you wish to speak to this?
Thank you. Through the chair, I would like to introduce the policy to council and establish that we would like to provide the community with policy on snow removal and ice removal. It's based on information from our staff, and it's also based on good practice from other municipalities in snow removal and ice removal. In summary, provides a prioritized approach to cleaning up the roads. The public works staff, they utilize an app that provides information on the weather systems, and it's a coded app, and they rely on that for their information about as concrete information as they can about what's coming ahead in the next couple of weeks. And they have established a prioritized system of snow removals. I believe it's maybe 5 priorities for each. And they put the various streets into each priority. Priority 1 obviously would be the most used roads, connectors, and arteries. I think for council is to review those roads and just confirm that that council agrees that those are our highest priority, second priority, third priority, and so on. I think that's the wishes, would be the wishes of council, but the actual use of the application and the verification of the weather is on a day-to-day basis, which would be more operational in nature. So that's for council's approval for this evening.
Okay. Thank you.
If the fire chief has anything from a fire perspective, would be a good time.
Fire Chief.
Thank you. Just the way the policy reads now is that upon request of the RCMP, could it potentially say request of RCMP and fire? Traditionally we do a lot of collaboration and working together to ensure that, especially those that can't get out during, to meet doctor's appointments or whatnot, critical ones, not just day-to-day events, that we can, should time and resources allow, support them in some ways. So that communication is very helpful, whether or not that needs to belong in this policy or not, but it is something that has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah, it'd probably be useful in the policy. So an example of that, if somebody was needing kidney dialysis, in the past you've helped to provide them to get them to the dialysis unit. Yeah. Councillor Gray.
So through you, the chair, to the fire chief, should we be adding then upon request from RCMP or fire department?
I mean, at the CO's direction, I think that's a adequate place for it if that's possible. It's only on request, so it's not obviously giving clear direction, just at request, providing the need.
Thank you.
Yeah, we can add in a little bit more language under commencement to include something to that effect. I think that's a good idea. So some sort of a emergency word or on request or whatever. We can add something in.
You
as a
can
friendly amendment.
Okay.
You can see
Councillor
it there, 1B, upon request from RCMP or fire department.
Anybody else? Councillor Shukin.
This all looks fine to me. I did just want to point out page 72 and 73, Glen Forest Way is noted twice. Second bullet and then the fourth bullet. Otherwise, looks good.
Councillor Donaldson, you have any comments?
Sorry, number 4, ice control. The second bullet is Glen Forest Way and the fourth bullet is Glen Forest Way under Route 1, spanning 72 and 73.
I think it's just a oversight.
Okay. The only comment that I have, thank you for the policy. The communication piece is missing in this. Usually what happens now is when the trucks are out plowing, there is a communication piece provided by the fire chief that please be patient, public, please don't go out on the roads, or we're clearing this section. And I think that should be formalized because for sure the people operating the trucks, you don't want them texting on Facebook while they're operating that, and it has worked out fairly well, and people do look to social media for those updates. And I was wondering, CAO, if we could formalize that in the policy.
Yeah, through the chair, why don't we take this back and do a couple of those quick revisions, and we can add a communications subtitle, probably maybe closer to the top of the document.
Okay. So did you want us to go and accept with those changes, or we're going to bring the whole thing back? We're going to bring the whole thing back. Any other comments? Councillor Gray.
I simply had a question, or two questions. One was that I gather this is based on our traditional way of dealing with the roads, our usual practice. That would be the first question to the CO. And then the second was just the difference between snow removal and ice control. And I'm seeing the busiest roads are dealt with as first priority and snow removal, but they're down further in ice control. And I'm guessing that's because they're not such a big problem with ice, because they're busy roads. So two questions.
Yeah, it's their current practice. We're formalizing it, so that's a great question. And actually, why don't we add some language in here just to explain the difference between snow removal and ice control? We just know it because we do it all the time, but that's a good point. What exactly is snow removal and ice control? Okay, snow removal is the blades. Ice control is the mixture they put on the roads. So we can explain that, and we'll add it to the document. Okay.
Yeah. Any additional comments? Okay. Thank you very much for that report. We'll move on. So on page 77 of your council agenda, we have the 2026 proposed regular meeting schedule. Who would like to move the recommendation? Councillor Gray.
Should I move that council approve the 2026 scheduled regular council meetings as prepared by staff?
This is moved by Councillor Gray, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Councillor Gray, did you wish to comment?
Just thanks for the staff putting it together for us. Thank you.
Councillor Donaldson?
I just had one question. So January 9th, I believe, is a Friday. I think it's supposed to be January 19th, perhaps, for the committee of the full. It's a possible typo. So
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Shukin, do you have any comments? No? Okay. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's unanimous. Great. And next we have reports for information. On page 81, we have the Metchosin Seniors Association Business Plan and Budget 2026. So on a yearly basis, we do receive this magnificent report from the Metchosin Seniors Association. Does anybody wish to comment? You have your mic on. Councilor Donaldson, did you wish to?
I will comment. I'm pleased
Page
to.
81?
Yes, page 81. I'm pleased to see this report, and it's very thorough. I find that the Cirque is quite thorough in everything that they do and providing a fantastic service to our community, and as one of our residents say, a varied schedule of interesting topics that are available for anybody of any age, not just for seniors. Kudos to them for keeping us informed and doing a great service. Thank you.
Councilor Shu?
Well, I just want to echo what Councillor Donaldson had said, and for the the hard work of maintaining CERT, but also the dedication of the executive as well to being there and working to keep our seniors healthy. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, with that, we have a motion to receive, but also if you have any additional comments, you can reach out to Ms. Chettelberg or Ms. Fletcher, and their contact information is here. But with many thanks to the Metchosin Seniors Association for your continued work. Okay, I'll take a motion to receive for information. Moved by Councilor Gray, seconded by Councilor Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. So anybody wishing to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome. But we will also understand if the particular item that you're interested in has been dealt with, you may decide to leave and we won't be offended in any way. So next we have the exciting topic of the Metchosin Building Inspection Department permit review. We review these every month. This is year to date for 2025. Do we have any comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion to receive. Moved by Councilor Donaldson, seconded by Councilor Shukin. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And then similarly, we have the District Metchosin Public Communications Report Statistics. Take a motion to receive. Moved by Councilor Shukin, seconded by Councilor Gray. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And we have correspondence for action. On page 97, we have a request from Summit CM Development, a request to release Covenant FB 512568, modified by CCB 1293393 on lots 1 to 34, section 93 and 94, Metchosin District Plan EPP 145710 stormwater. Okay, we've got the letter here. CAO Payette, can I ask you to comment first?
Thank you, through the chair. Okay, this request is a little bit more complicated regarding the covenant. So we put a map on the screen for everybody to have a look at so that we can orientate everyone on what we're talking about. So you can see there is the little whited out section, would be, I guess, called phase 2A, maybe 34 lots, yeah, phase 2A. So that's on the dominant lands, and then the green shaded area is the servient land as we read it through the covenant. And the covenant, the request is asking to remove the easement covenant. So the easement covenant and the association, or the information of the easement covenant, is about constructing the storm water management facility on the servient land in green. That's no longer the case, where the stormwater management facility is being constructed wholly on the dominant land side. So in the city of Langford boundaries. And so the request is to release the covenant off of the 34 lots at this point. And so the covenant, you've had a chance to read it. It speaks to the easement for the water management and associated conditions to do so appropriately, obviously, and environmentally. The stormwater management of the 34 lots is contained on each lot. So each lot has its own, I guess, mini stormwater management system in place. And the city of Langford has approved the overall plan for this subdivision, but any subsequent subdivision would require its own stormwater management plan. So i.e. the 34 lots has its own stormwater management plan. City of Langford has received that and approved it as well. And each subsequent subdivision would have its own stormwater management plan to be approved by Langford. Those plans meet Langford's services policy for stormwater management, not just for Langford, but for Metchosin, for the safety and protection of Metchosin. So that's the ask from the developer, is to remove that covenant on that parcel, or that subdivided land. If there's any questions, I can try and answer it the best I can.
Okay, so is everybody clear with the map? Maybe Councillor Shukin, could you jump up and just point to the 34 lots as opposed to the dominant lands?
Yeah, right there.
Yep. And then the dominant lands, Lot D. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Just so we're all clear about what we're talking about. Okay, Councillor Shukin, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Little. I'm certainly prepared to give some thought to releasing the covenant, but I do just have some observations and some further thoughts on this. In the email that came from Summit, there's mention of a letter from the city of Langford confirming that the stormwater system will be constructed within Langford and Metchosin. So we haven't seen that letter yet, and I think it would be very good to have that. I think all indication is that, they are doing it, but it would be good to have that formalized as well. But the one other thing I want to mention is it was interesting to have the stormwater management plan, the McElhinney plan, with us for review. And I did notice a number of things that were very different from the plans that I saw in 2023 when the detention pond was slated for the buffer land and what's being proposed right now. And I'll just cut to the chase. I think it would be, I would like to request that we ask McElhinney to come and do a presentation on what the stormwater management plan says. There are some significant changes. The biggest one being that the dead storage for the detention pond, there is one slated for the Langford side versus what they were expecting to do with the detention pond on the buffer land. There's a big difference there. So the new detention pond on the Langford side has a dead storage of 457 cubic meters. The previous pond iteration on our side would have had a storage of 6,400 cubic meters. So that's 10 times the size. And that's significant, of course, because when you're dealing with stormwater, you're catching it and you're trying to release it at in a controlled manner. So the question that comes up is what is the difference between the size of the ponds and how is that being managed as well in terms of the overall system? Now, part of that answer is there's going to be more on-lot storage, apparently. And there's a significant change in the size of that on-lot storage and how it interacts with 2-year events and 10-year events and all that. But that's just my very amateur approach, reading the plan. And I believe that we would benefit from having McElhaney come and present to us. And again, the one thing that is really important is it's great that the stormwater pond is now on the Langford side, but all of that water is going to come to Metchosin. It's leaving Langford almost like very quickly, and it is coming our way. We should understand what that means, not only for winter flows, which we have to manage in terms of flood, but also summer flows as well, where we want to maintain the water flow in Bilston Creek and Metchosin Creek. So again, I'm happy to support the release of the covenant, but I think there's a few steps that we should take before we look at doing that.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak at the meeting regarding that? Go ahead, Councillor.
Sure. Well, I see the sense of releasing the covenant. I take Councillor Shugan's point. I was approaching it a little bit differently in my mind, which was I would like to understand once this happens and once the development occurs, what do we have in place to monitor the flows, so that in fact we're being assured in the documents that the pre and post development flow water down to Bilston Creek will not be overwhelming, and I guess will be the same as it was before. And now it's designed that way. And I wasn't just clear from the materials what happens next in terms of monitoring. There's one reference to once a year monitoring, and I thought that doesn't sound, well, it sounds like that's hardly at all. So what happens, or how do we do that? And I don't know if RCA knows at the moment, but I would like to be refreshed on that. Now, the other day in the finance meeting, we learned that, or there was a request for a monitoring flow, monitoring of flow meter, or I think it was a software update for a meter that's already there. I think that particular meter maybe belongs to Langford. I'm not sure, but and so we might put some money to improving the monitoring. But who's looking at the data? Who's keeping our interest in mind here? In terms of the flow down to the river, to the creek. How do we address it in the future? It all silts up, say, for example, is that an issue that we take up with Langford, or we take up with the province, or we take up with who exactly? Just to understand how this all comes together. So it's perhaps a different angle than what Councillor Shuka is referring to, but we might be able to get that information through a similar presentation. The other thing I wonder about is, we got the document, but I got to say it's very hard to understand. And everyone who's taken a look, pages 187 through 312 are just numbers, pages and pages of numbers. And I can't really digest that, but it might be that there is a person, either our engineer or somebody could take a look and say, yeah, this all looks pretty good to them, and give us some assurance.
Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you. Actually, I appreciate what both my colleagues have to say. So the conclusion I'm getting from both of those very good points that they brought up is we do know that the water coming through the bufferlands from the top part of this particular map, which would be the industrial area, which is a clear cut, does affect directly the Metchosin Creek, which does follow along underneath the culvert that'll be replaced on Neil Road at some point into Metchosin Creek by way of, again, underneath Happy Valley Road at Flesh Road, but into Bilston Creek at Hall Bridge. That is one place, and we do have some monitors up there for flow. This particular area, it raised quite a bit of concern with our residents in that neighborhood, especially the Bilston Watershed Habitat Association, because we saw this past year excavators in the creek near on the other side of Winter Road, where Valley View Estates is there, and they continue to do a lot of work of putting various pipes and things in the underneath the thoroughfare there, Happy Valley Road, and the road that goes up to the terrace and the estates. As we speak daily right now, they're continuing to work on that. So my concern is not only the flow, but the water quality and how that is coming down the hills through that. I'm not certain all of the things they put there, except they have lined this new ditching with large boulders. So we may want to consider, and it is something that I'm hoping Mr. Creek and us can talk about Thursday at our budget meeting, flow monitoring and water quality, because that does affect, again, Bilston Creek, but further up, and it all goes out to the lagoon. It goes all the way through our community by way of the Bilston Creek, through our farmland areas, and empties into our bird sanctuary at Woody's Lagoon. So certainly we have some environmental concerns, but I agree with Councillor Shukin. It would be great to have a presentation by the engineers that are put some of this work together, so we have a clear understanding and protecting our environment and our lands and people at the other end of this flow system.
Okay. CAO Payette, did you want to comment on this regarding whether it would be possible to get the individuals from McElhaney here for a presentation and some information from particularly the engineers who could answer questions regarding stormwater placement, the catchments below the lots that are proposed, as well as initiatives to mitigate the risks of the creek downstream, or the water coming downstream into Bilston Creek.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, so all great questions. Of course, I have received information that those are all undertaken by Langford, and that they assure that everything is according to their policy, and they share the same concerns as Metchosin on water quality and quantity. Through their policy, the developers have to meet their standards as well, and have that assurance. So I'm not sure. I guess that's obviously not going to satisfy council. So that request to have the developer come to council, I can ask the developer to come and explain the stormwater management system. I suppose I don't know what that would entail, if they could come or not. That's up to them, I suppose. But they want the covenant removed, so I guess they would come and talk to council.
And would it be the engineers at the city of Langford that would address the stormwater monitoring of the stormwater detention pond and their specifications?
So the question is valid. So the actual stormwater management facility will be taken on by Langford as a city asset and maintained by the city of Langford and their standards, not by the developer. So that could be reassurance to council. The size of the pond, if we're going to call it that, is reduced because they are doing oversizing the detention system on each of the individual lots, so it reduces the requirement for the size of the overall pond. But we do, our engineer does recommend that we continue to review each subdivision as it occurs, not to do it fulsome over the whole dominant land, so that we can review each stormwater management plan. And what else can I give you? The city of Langford takes on the maintenance in perpetuity. They share our concerns. And of course, if council agrees to remove the easement off of the buffer land, that means that there would never be a stormwater management system on the buffer land. if council leaves the easement covenant on the buffer land that allows for stormwater management. So it's up to council.
Councillor Shukin, and then Councillor Gray.
So Mayor Little, if I could, I would make a motion. I would move that as part of council's consideration of removal of the stormwater management covenant, and it'd be great to put the number there. Council requests a briefing, a briefing in an open council session on the stormwater management plan by the Center Mountain residential developers, stormwater engineers. So moved.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Do you want to motivate
Just
further?
just one point. I do recognize there's benefit, I think, to both parties to be clear on the stormwater system and the fact that it's not going to be on the buffer land. But again, we were promised, not promised, there was an indication of a letter. We don't have that yet. And I think we do have some legitimate questions that McElhaney can answer for us. And pending that, I think I'd be happy to move ahead with removing the covenant. The one thing I'll note is McElhaney staff came previously. I think it was last year, and they did a really great job, I think, in presenting questions. And I think they heard from council that we were certainly willing to be collaborative with them in terms of finding the best approach to stormwater management. And I still think that is something that those who are knowledgeable and interested in finding a good way forward would advocate for as well. So,
And Councillor Donaldson.
Yeah, I agree. This would also reinforce some confidence for ourselves and for our residents who have spoken loud and clear about the concerns coming. We don't want to be a drainage ditch for an urban community. We want to have a good understanding of the quality of the engineering and the outside of what the results could be that hopefully are favorable. Just a better understanding of the science to it. And I do appreciate the fact that the engineer is recommending we do each section of that larger subdivision separately, which is a good idea.
So what I'm hearing, go ahead, Councillor Gray.
Sure, I take a different view from my colleagues. I guess I was going to ask through the chair, maybe I will ask, I don't really want to get in the way of the people who are working on a big project up in Center Mountain right now. And I think that we have a good relationship with the engineers just described, and I don't see any problem, or I was going to ask, is there any problem in releasing the covenant and then having a presentation and learning more about what's going on? What I was talking about is I just would like to understand what the plan is so that we have some assurance and understand in follow-up if problems occur, who takes care of them. So they're a little bit aside from the covenant. I don't think, well, so if it's not a problem for them for us to not release them tonight, then fair enough. But if they would like it done now, my preference would be get it done, but then carry on the discussion with Langford and or the developers as things go. Perhaps I could ask the CEO, is this needed tonight, or would they be happy if we wait another month, or what's the story from their perspective? I guess part of this bound up for me is our engineer, we just heard, says we should do it piece by piece, but our engineer hasn't given us a recommendation. Should we accept this one? Yes or no?
CEO Payette.
I'm not sure if it's the engineer's responsibility to give a recommendation on removing a covenant. He's just giving the facts as they are. And he's suggesting that phase one stormwater management is handled by an oversizing of the on-site detention systems on each individual lot rather than the pond. By doing so, the runoff from the impervious surfaces of the lots will be detained and released at a rate that will meet the pre-development conditions, period. And then he says, I do recommend that for future discharges of the covenant, the developer issue a letter and record drawings were pertinent, stating that this stormwater management system have been constructed as per the original stormwater management plan and reviewed and accepted by the district, and that the stormwater runoff will be detained with no nuisance being caused to the district lands.
Okay.
Is that a report by our engineer? I
Is that a report from our engineer? That's our engineer.
So maybe in future we could have that kind of note in our package, then we'd know what our engineer is saying.
But what I'm hearing from our colleagues, is they would like more information and assurances before proceeding with releasing the covenant. And I don't see any reason to deny that request. More information is always good. And as you've mentioned, they presented before. One question that I have is, in case in case, unlikely, but if one of the detention catchments below the lot, if they fail, particularly those ones that are right above the buffer lands, if they fail, is that the liability held by the city of Langford, or is the liability held with each lot owner, or is it with the developer? I imagine it's the city of Langford, but I don't know for sure. CAO Payette, do you know the answer to that?
I don't know for sure, Mayor, but whatever improvements are on a property is the responsibility of the property owner, and whatever improvements are on the dominant land that the city of Langford has agreed to take over would be Langford's responsibility.
Okay, so that's a question we could also ask our guests if they were willing to come and answer some questions. Councillor Gray.
Thanks. So my first question to the CAO then was, is there any rush to this? Would the developer and the city be fine if we delay until we get that information? Or are they in a hurry?
CAO Payette.
Yeah, what we know is that the developer wants to register the subdivision. So if, I don't know what exactly like if it's a rush today or tomorrow, I don't know, but they want to register the subdivision as soon as possible. And on commenting about information in the agenda package, clearly there's a lot of information in the agenda package, and some information we don't get before we do the package. So it's, we love to put everything possible in there, but it's just logistically not possible sometimes to get every detail in there. Thank you.
Councillor Gray.
Yeah, thanks for that. I guess I'm just referring to it. It's a very technical report, so it's hard for someone like myself, and I expect my colleagues to understand what's here. That's why a note from our engineer who has the knowledge base and abilities to let us know whether this is something we should do or not do would be helpful, but I appreciate you reading it out tonight. So the proponents here would like to register the subdivision. I just don't want to be in a place of holding them up, because I think they'll be happy to come and tell us what's going on, and all the questions I've got will be answered in due course. So I guess I'm thinking to vote against the motion because I think we should get this done and carry on.
I don't think we need to drag our feet on this. I think the staff could reach out even tomorrow to ask for whether they would be interested in coming for a presentation. I don't think it should take months and months and months. It could even be arranged for this month. Possibly not, but it could be arranged as soon as possible. Councillor Shukin.
Yeah, I think it would be great to do as soon as possible. I will just say I recognize, that there's business to be done, there's a subdivision to be built, but if the developers have come to us late and there's a rush, I'm sorry, but there are significant questions that I think we need answered, and I think sure we can release this, but I think I think if the developers needed this to have happened, it would have been better to have come to us early. And I'm certainly prepared to, get the information as soon as possible. And yeah, anyways, sorry, I'm confusing Mr. Payette here.
No,
I'm going to
it's fine.
stick to my motion about seeking a request first, but certainly being open to releasing the covenant as soon as possible.
No.
So,
In support of that, I think I will be in favor of eventually releasing the covenant. The problem that I have is when I have citizens coming to ask me these specific questions, I don't have an answer for them. So I don't have the answer to some of those questions. So what am I going to say? I can't tell everybody to go to Langford to ask for those questions. I think it behooves us to have all the information so that we can relay the factual information to our residents. And there are some that have significant concerns. Councillor Donaldson, did you wish to speak?
Oh, I agree with what all has been said. This is just part of doing business, and I think it's our responsibility to understand fully what is being asked here, and certainly if we need to, if it's possible to do a meeting in the next few weeks before the break of the holiday season, then great. If not, early January. The work is continuing on this property every day, 6 days a week. So I don't think it's going to be a huge slowdown for the company. We're not saying delay by months. So yeah, and if it means having a special council meeting for this topic, this is something that we've done in the past, and we certainly could do, I'm sure.
Okay. That's nice. Any other comments on this? Now, did we move the motion? Yes, we did, right? Yeah, we moved and seconded it. Any other comments before I call the question? I'll call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Councillor Gray opposed. Okay, that passes. Thank you. Okay, we're moving along to another correspondence for action. We have on page 315 a letter from Robert Underhill, the president of the Royal Canadian Legion, British Columbia Yukon Command Military Service Recognition Book, and their request for support. So on page 315 of your council agenda. Okay, so they're asking for support in terms of advertising within their book. It's goes from a small amount to 1/10 of a page, from $330 up to a couple of $1,000 for increased coverage. Does anybody wish to speak to this? I haven't ever looked at this is their 21st annual military service recognition book. I have never looked at it, I must admit, but certainly recognizing military service is laudable. Councillor Shukin.
Mayor Little, we provide support to the local Legion, and I'm forgetting exactly what for. I think it's a Remembrance Day dinner.
It is a dinner. I'm not sure if it's specific to Remembrance Day, but it is one of their events. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm wondering if that from a Metchosin side recognized the importance of the Legion and the work they do. So,
Anybody else wish to comment?
move receipt.
Okay, this is moved by Councillor Shukin, seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Any other comments? Call the question. All in favor? Those opposed? Not opposed. Okay, moving along, we have another request from the Wounded Warrior organization, another exceptional group that provides services to military personnel, particularly for trauma, dealing with trauma and mental health guidance and support. They're requesting a donation of $2,500 as a yearly contribution in our budgets. Certainly, this isn't just for military personnel. They open their organization up to police officers and firefighters, paramedics, security officers as well. And yeah, they do excellent work, and they do have a run. We've some of us have attended the runs to cheer them on as well. Councillor Donaldson.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I did send a letter as the finance chair to encourage them to apply to our grant and aid for 2026. And so,
Did you receive response?
no, not yet. I have not. But hopefully
Okay,
they will. Yeah.
okay. Maybe send it again. Did you send it to Jacqueline?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay, maybe send another prompt.
Sure.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to receive. Moved by Councillor Shukin, second by Councillor Donaldson. Discussion. Yeah, I think that's the best way to go about it, is just deal with it at the grant and aid. They just also want to note that there is a gala dinner to be held that we're all invited to on January 31st. Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? No one opposed. Thank you. And we have on page 321 a letter from Natalie Gua, the Acting Conservation Director, Ocean Program, BC Coastal Marine Strategy, a request for support. Yeah, this is really interesting. And I think it especially in this time frame where the Prime Minister of Canada has made a memorandum of understanding with the province of Alberta. I think this is very timely. Councillor Gray.
Yeah, I'd like to move the motion that council direct the mayor to urge the provincial government to enshrine the BC Coastal Marine Strategy into law.
Okay. And
And with a seconder, I can explain.
seconded by Councillor Shukin. Go ahead.
We previously written in support of the Coastal Marine Strategy, and then it's been promulgated, it's out there, but the question here before us is really just leaning a little bit on the province in terms of let's get the legislative framework in place. We're hearing here from CPAWS, the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society, the BC chapter, and the West Coast Environmental Law. But we also heard earlier this year from our colleagues in Langford and I'm going to say Saanich, and they brought forward a motion to UBCM that passed in the endorsed block, and it was for the same drive. Let's see if we can't get this into legislation. I think it's worth supporting. It's just to help move things along and show that we're supporting both the strategy itself, but then the legal framework that's to come. That was part of the plan itself.
Okay, Councillor Shukin. Yep, Councillor Donaldson. Yeah, I would be also in favor of this. This has been going on, the whole process has been going on since 2021. I just did note that in 2022, they published their intention paper. And within the intention paper in C4, this is from the provincial government signed by the minister at the time. And C4 reads, evaluate the need for a comprehensive coastal zone legislation. A key challenge to coastal management is the absence of a legal framework specifically designed to govern and manage coastal marine areas in British Columbia, and such a framework, and it goes on to explain that. So I think this is very timely, and it's not an original idea. The province stated it in their original intention paper that was signed by the minister at the time, Minister Nathan Cullen. So I think we'll quote that in our response if that is what is the wishes of the council. Any other thoughts? No? Okay. So in terms of the motion, that's not the motion that they suggested, Councillor Gray. On page 323, there is a more fulsome, are you okay with your simple version?
Yes, I've read the motion itself. I omitted the whereases.
Okay, so you would, you're taking this motion that, starting at in July 2024?
Oh, page 323.
Yep.
The motion was just at the bottom of the page there, that council directs the mayor to urge the provincial government to enshrine the BC Coastal Marine Strategy and law.
Okay.
My thinking was that the whereases can get worked into the letter.
Yep, that's fine. Okay, is everybody comfortable with that? Okay, all in favor? That's unanimous. You know what, I was also thinking that we had written to the Minister of Transport, if you remember, in July 2023. There is now a different minister, Minister McKinnon is his name. I was wondering if we might resubmit a letter. That letter talks a little bit about what Miask was planning to do in terms of marine response, but I think it would be very timely to mention facts such as we are a small rural community, but with 50 kilometers of coastline, that if there was a spill, it would definitely affect our community, and it would severely impact our community. And I thought this would be timely to resend a modified version of that letter to Transport Canada. So remember, the marine strategy was good, but actually the transportation of oil products in tankers is the responsibility of the federal government. So with that, I will move that I write a letter similar to the one that we had written in July of 2023 to the new transportation minister, Minister McKinnon. Seconded by Councillor Shukin. Any comments?
I think it's a great idea. I'll vote in favor of that motion. And to be clear, I think this is about the Minister of Transport taking care with the rules around when tankers are traveling off our coast here. And that, I think it's an ideal time, as you say.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak? No? I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Moving on to correspondence for information on page 327, we have a letter from the Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Lana Popham, thanking us for meeting with her ministry at the UBCM conference. It was a great meeting. I can't remember who was there. I know Councillor Donaldson and I were there. It was a great meeting. She did talk about some of the initiatives that they're trying to roll out. No, they don't have any grants available, that was clear, but they were certainly very supportive of Metchosin. And at the table was a member of the Agricultural Land Commission, and she was absolutely delighted, jumping in her seat, that we had now an agricultural plan. So that was nice to hear, and nice to know that they knew about Metchosin and our new plan. So with that, I'll take a motion to receive.
Motion to receive, and can we copy it to the Agriculture Advisory Select Committee so they're aware?
That would be a good idea. We have a meeting coming up very, very soon, so we could.
Okay. Is that seconded by
Yes.
Councillor Donaldson, and then a letter to, yeah, okay.
Yes, thank you.
I'll call that question on a letter to the Agriculture Advisory, a copy of the letter to the Agriculture Advisory Committee. All in favor? Opposed, carried, great. And then moving along to our last item, which is bylaws. We have the bylaw on page 329, Metchosin Land Use Amendment Bylaw, number 7114409, William Head Road.
And Mayor Little, I'll just step out again, recuse myself from the discussion because I own the property next to the property under discussion this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Shukin, do you wish to start?
Thank you, Mayor Little. I am prepared to make the motion. I want to thank Mr. Starr for his patience in working with staff. This has gone on, I think, for well over a year. I believe that there is a clear need, a clear rationale in both the OCP and our zoning bylaw. And with the limitations and the list of, businesses and operations that can go on this property, I think there's a very, very good opportunity for a low impact, high value business that will bring a benefit to the community. I do recognize Ms. Smith had written a letter further encouraging us to do something, but I believe that the business categories and types that are indicated here in the exclusions will actually go a long way toward that. So if I could, I would move that council direct staff to forward the agricultural land reserve non-farm use application to allow commercial use of the 0.401 hectare portion of 4409 William Head Road to the Agricultural Land Commission with a recommendation to support, and that council give third reading to Metchosin Land Use Amendment Bylaw number 711.
This is moved by Councillor Shukin,
Second it.
seconded by Councillor Donaldson. Do you wish to motivate on that? No. Councillor Donaldson?
No, I think that it's been pretty clear. I commend Mr. Starr for his patience. This is, it's been a year that we are aware of, but Mr. Starr has actually been, there's a lot of history to this property and how much patience Mr. Starr has had in over 2 decades, I believe. Yeah, I'm confident there'll be something that'll be complimentary for the area. There's a list there. The Ag Committee's been involved. The public has had an opportunity to speak. The planner's given us lots of background on the site, and just as a matter of waiting for the ALC, I think that all the boxes are checked for us to keep moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. And I concur with my colleagues. Mr. Starr should be giving an award for patience. This has, I think this is the 4th time we've seen and discussed this property. And like you say, I think it will fit in nicely with the village center as well, give some peace and tranquility to Mr. Starr that he probably should have had years ago. And with that, any other comments? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, so we'll ask Councillor Gray to come back. Okay, and there are no other business, but we do have time for questions. Should anybody wish to speak at question period, we have 20 minutes to devote to this. Please state your name and your road. Thank you.
Patty Whitehouse, Rocky Point Road. Just wondering what the public input from the public hearing was on this issue.
Councillor Shukin, would you summarize that for us?
For sure, we had.
Excuse me. I don't think there should be any further discussion on the bylaw at this point.
My question was about the input from the public hearing. I'm not clear whether that's a discussion on the bylaw. I see your point, but I'm just not clear. Sure.
Sorry, Patty.
Where it fits.
Yeah, Mayor Little, I'm going to take the advice of Deputy Corporate Officer Hanson. So.
Yeah, thank you. I actually should have said, Ms. Whitehouse, that usually after the public hearing, it is normal process to seal or close off information and debate. However, after the meeting, if you wish to ask any council member or the applicant, you're most welcome to ask those questions.
Just to be sure whether the comments in the public hearing will be included in the next minutes, then my question will be answered then. So that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak at question period? Okay, with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Moved by Council Shukin, seconded by Council Donaldson. All in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody.